Kristaps, one of the stories of the game. Kristaps Porzingis reminiscing about his time with the Knicks. And this guy sounded like he was homesick. Now, he did a Q&A with NBA.com. Should have did it with KnicksFanTV, but he did a Q&A with NBA.com's Mark Medina. And Mark was asking Kristaps, why don't you think things worked out with the Knicks? And here's what Porzingis had to say. He says, could I go back and do things differently? For sure. From our side, I was hurt. If I kept playing, it would have been completely different. I'm young and listening to people and what they're telling me on what I should do with my career. You don't know any better. That's how things went at that time. I can only say really good things about the organization. I love playing in front of New York and the fans. What things could you have done differently? Kristaps says, I don't want to go into too much detail, but how things went with the communication wasn't my style. My style would be different with whatever needed to be done. Maybe it was nothing. My style would have been different either way, but I was wrong. I was going with the flow. Here's Mark Medina. Much was made about you missing your exit interview in 2017. Kristaps interrupts him and say, do you think I came up with that? And he laughs. It is what it is. So it sounds like, hey, maybe is this a PR ploy by Porzingis to make nice, to extend the olive branch? But it sounds like a guy who regretfully allowed his brothers to own the situation. A young Kristaps at the time, this is 5 years ago, and allowed his brothers to handle the situation, and seems like he has some regrets. Went to Dallas, went to DC. That's not like MSG, man. That's not like MSG. And remember the whole thing. For those of you that were fans of this show, I mean, the news came quick. It was like Ramona Shelburne, Kristaps is meeting with the Knicks. And then Woj, Kristaps meeting with the Knicks, Kristaps requesting a trade, Kristaps has been traded. It was literally a domino effect within like 2 hours. And all of a sudden, he was gone. So it seems like he's throwing his brothers under the bus. Look, to a certain degree, I can understand it. He's young. He's naive at the time. He feels like he's his brothers, right? He feels like, hey, my brothers are representing me. They got my best interest at heart. If they're saying we out of here. Kind of similar to like LeBron and the decision, right? LeBron had kind of came out and said, well, may not have been the best thing to do, but at the time, it's him, it's Mav, it's Rich Paul. They're trying to think of out-of-the-box ways to present his brand and to build his brand, a young LeBron James at the time. So they did that, and the NBA hated his guts for it. So, Porzingis seems a little bit contrite there. But now you got all these Knicks fans. I mean, when we posted this thing on Instagram, you got Knicks fans now looking to make a trade to bring Kristaps here. Here's my guy Kaz from MSG. He says, let me go ahead and look at his contract real quick. Right, the truth will be out there. Remember that when after the trade was made and we were kicking him out the door, and Kristaps dropped a cryptic Instagram story that says the truth will come out one day. So what was the truth? Now he's coming out and saying, well, I would handle it a little bit differently. What was the truth? Like a few good men. We want the truth. We can handle it. Junior Caroma says, screw him. Very interesting. But do we owe Phil Jackson an apology? Follow me on this. Do we owe Phil Jackson an apology on this? For all the things that we hated Phil for, he wanted to get rid of Porzingis. Go back to the draft of 2017. That morning, the rumors were circulating that the Knicks were interested in Lowry marketing. They were talking to Boston, talking to Phoenix for a trade that would have involved Porzingis, sent him to Boston. The Knicks would have somehow gotten Devin Booker, And they were looking to use their draft pick to get Lowry marketing. Phil wanted marketing. Was Phil right all along? We could have had marketing and Booker on this team. Running the triangle. Running the triangle. Was Phil right all along? Do we owe Phil an apology? You be the judge. But Phil said this kid is not durable. Let me get the other guy. Because how these things play out, when you're going into the draft, you're calling multiple teams. You have multiple scenarios set up. Hey, if this happens, let's do this. If this happens, let's do this. I'm going to you. Marketing was picked one pick before the Knicks. What if marketing was still there? Would that trade have gone down? But in typical Knicks fashion, marketing gets picked one pick before by Minnesota, then gets traded to the Bulls, and the Knicks pick Frank Ntilikina. We can never have nice things. We can never have nice things, man. We went from getting marketing and Booker in a blockbuster trade to Frank and Kristaps on a torn ACL. That's the life of a Knicks fan for you 2,000 people watching in the chat right now. I did like KP, man. I thought, when we drafted him, that year that he was having before he got hurt, he was having an all-star year. He was ferocious. Double-doubles, block shots. Remember that? He was on a run. He was on a crazy run. So, that's a segment on KP. You be the judge.